Summer is here, and that can only mean sunshine, blooming flowers, and bee stings. But what exactly happens when you get stung by a bee? And what would happen if you were stung by 1,000 of them? First though, let's learn a little bit about the history of the bee. The first bees were descendants of a carnivorous wasp-like insect and appeared over 125 million years ago, evolving into pollen-eating and honey-producing herbivores. And though they were here well before us, cave paintings dated to over 10,000 years ago in Spain and France showed that man and bees have a long history together thanks to that honey. Apiculture, or beekeeping, first began around 7000 BC in the Middle East, with honey finding use as food, medicine, and even preservative. The practice soon spread around the world from Egypt to Greece and Africa. And though famous for their stingers, most bees only sting in defense of the hive and give up an attack pretty quickly. Most bees, that is, with the exception of the legendary Africanized honeybee. Also known as killer bees, they will pursue a threat for distances up to 3 miles. And if you think water can save you, think again. Killer bee swarms have been known to patiently hover and wait over water until their victim comes up to breathe so they can continue attacking. But what actually happens when you get stung by a bee? For that, we'll need to take a much closer look. A bee's stinger evolved from its egg-laying organ, the ovipositor, so only female bees can sting. Once a stinger penetrates flesh, barbs along its shaft help it dig deeper into the victim, even after the bee has tore free the stinger. The stinger immediately begins to pump venom into the blood. Because the venom is about 88% water, and we are ourselves mostly water, the venom disperses easily through the body. So what exactly is in that other 12%? And why does it hurt so much? Half of a bee's venom is made up of a peptide called melittin. Together with phospholipase A2, this toxic brew works to destroy cells, bursting red blood cells in the sting site. Apomin, which makes up about 3% of a bee's venom, directly attacks nerve tissue, causing further pain. While hyaluronidase, which makes up about 2% of the venom, destroys cell membranes, allowing the venom to spread easier. As if that wasn't enough, this toxic brew also makes blood vessels expand, which is why bee stings can be so dangerous to people with low blood pressure. So what exactly would happen if you were stung by 1,000 bees at once? Most healthy people can tolerate about 10 stings per pound of body weight. According to the CDC, the average American weighs about 181 pounds, meaning most people could tolerate about 1,800 stings before death. However, even if 1,000 stings is far below this fatal threshold, there is the potential for serious and life-threatening complications. The most dangerous part of a bee sting is when it produces swelling in locations other than the sting site, or when the sting site is in a particularly vulnerable area such as the throat. This swelling can compromise the airway and lead to asphyxiation. Because it also causes blood vessels to expand, all that venom can critically lower blood pressure, becoming potentially fatal for the sick or elderly. But even if 1,000 stings don't kill you outright, they can still be lethal days after the attack. When a bee stings you, it damages a great deal of cellular tissue, and it's the kidney's job to eliminate this cell tissue and keep it from gunking up the body. However, if there's too much damaged tissue, the kidneys can't keep up and may be overwhelmed, leading to a shutdown. This is why people suffering from extreme bee attacks are typically hospitalized and closely monitored for a few days after. For the average human, 1,000 stings shouldn't be fatal, but approximately 2% of the population suffers from extreme allergic reactions that can be triggered by just a single sting. Bees aren't very prone to attacking people though, and with the exception of the Africanized honeybees, are quite tolerant of us. Most beekeepers don't even wear suits. So while they may seem quite scary, just remember, bees will typically leave you alone as long as you leave them alone.